met you at Sigma Squared. And yeah, I just thought you were really cool because you were so proactive when people were at dinner, handing out your stickers. And I was wondering, oh my gosh, why is he doing this at dinner? And then I looked into your app and I was like, you know what? Actually, it's quite cool. So it says, it says live more, scroll less. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, what is this? And then actually downloaded your app, had a try, and it's been really improving my productivity. And actually, I've spent less time on social media. So my screen time's gone from about 8 hours to 6 hours a day, which is all thanks to your app. I just wondered, a lot of entrepreneurs, they always build something to do with some sort of pain or something they experience. So I would love to know, what was the pain point that prompted you to build this app?
Interesting that you brought the pain out, because it's actually, I didn't realize it that much, that is actually so often driven by some pain. And for me, it's exactly the same. When I was in high school, I had a very close person to me start to have some mental health issues. They were really suffering every day. It was just breaking my heart. And I thought, what can I do about it? Why is it happening? How can we help people like that? That's where I started to be interested in psychology and in neuroscience, and figured, so another journey. If you're seeing every day the perfect life of everyone else, how is it going to make you feel? And especially for younger children who are still developing their brains, it can be really for girls especially, right? There's it's proven that it's causing not only anxiety and depression, but also anorexia for young girls. And Facebook knew about it. And Frances Haugen, who's the whistleblower, took the papers out and said it in media, hey, Facebook knows that it's hurting children. So that's one thing. But overall, I saw at the time how big mental health problem is overall in the world. There is so many people, almost 1/4 of the people on the planet are suffering with some mental health problems. And specifically for people with depression, more than 1/3 of them, we have no clue how to help them. So imagine, there's hundreds of millions of people there without any hope that we can help them, suffering every day, and the only solution they can think of is suicide. In general, if we're going to be a society where everybody is just staring at the phones for hours a day, meaninglessly consuming content, and being basically harvested, our attention and time and life is being harvested just for the profit, which is really bugging me even more, right? Not just the personal level that someone feels bad or anxious or whatever. I don't think it's okay. And I don't understand why there's not more people talking about it, even though there's many people talking about it. There's countries who are increasing the age limit for social media, treating it a bit like cigarettes or alcohol now. In Denmark, just this week or last week, they banned social media for people under 15. In other countries, it's already banned for people under 16. And this wouldn't be happening if it was really harmful for people. And the first thing now happening is really banning it for kids. But it's not just affecting kids. Yes, it's affecting them the most because their brain is still developing, but it's affecting everybody. Everybody is meeting their friends less, meeting their family less. We are getting more isolated. We're getting more lonely. And right, this is not what the world I want to live in. I want to live in a world where people are more close to each other. They are meeting more often. They are having fun with their friends. They know what their purpose is. They understand what they want from their life. And these are all things that are kind of slowly being taken from us without us realizing that. This was when I was 16 or 17, or I don't know how old. I was wow, we need to do something about it. And I was just crazy enough maybe to think I can contribute and help it, and really kind of dedicated my life to improving mental health overall. And that's what's driving us to build what we're building.
That is a really good point. There was this girl I listened to yesterday who said that we're essentially free employees of these social media apps. And it's just, when you really think about it, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's another good quote, if the product is for free, you are the product.
Yeah. And it's crazy that they call you a user, isn't it? Which feels very related to being on drugs. So you started getting really deep into the mental health space. And I was wondering, how does Lemio actually help people solve their phone addiction and mental health issues?
So there's many levels to it. But the major one is, it's not really proven that social media is addiction, or it's rather a compulsive behavior. And this compulsive behavior, you are not really aware of it, because it's a compulsion. Yeah. And then what we introduce, the basic functionality of our app, is that you lock the distracting apps. And then when you want to go into Instagram, for example, we make you wait. And for example, just for 7 seconds. But since we make you wait, we switch you kind of from this
Yeah.
You know, this book from Kahneman, System 1, System 2. So you were in the System 1 and we switch you into the System 2 to think about, okay, what do I actually want to go there for? And if it's a compulsion, you really don't have a good reason why you're going there. And that's the moment where you realize, oh, wow, I actually don't know why I'm going there. Maybe I don't need to go there. Why should I wait here when I don't know what I'm trying to do there, you know? So that's the core thing. But then we go deeper and deeper because this is kind of just fixing the symptom. And we really care about fixing the core problems, which are a bit deeper, and not many people are super aware of what is actually doing it or what is happening. But that's what like social media companies are kind of exploiting our weaknesses of our brains or make us hooked.
Yeah, for sure. I really like the fact that your app, because it makes you breathe for 7 seconds, and then you're just like, actually, yeah, do I need to log into Instagram, or am I being bored? Should I just go to bed now? And yeah, I find that really helpful. And then also what I really like about your app is sometimes you can set a goal before you're allowed into Instagram, which I also find really helpful.
Yeah, we do that because in the morning, it's, you know, there are different times of the day when the use of the phone is more problematic or less problematic. And before bed, I think it's the worst probably. And then the second worst is right after waking up, because your brain is still in different brainwave states, let's say. And you are kind of priming yourself for distraction if the first thing you do is go to the phone. So what we thought, okay, let's make people plan what they want to do in the day instead of scrolling first before we let them go scroll. So that's the feature you're talking about.
Yeah, and what are the different wave states? Why is it particularly bad to be on Instagram in the morning and evening, or any other social media, TikTok, whatever?
Brain has different states, like there's alpha state, theta state, delta state, gamma state, and so on, and beta state. And when you're sleeping, you are in a different state than when you're awake, obviously. And then when you are waking up, you are kind of going through the different states, or when you're meditating, you're also in a different state. Or when you are in some trance or hypnosis, you get to a slightly different state. And in that transition from sleep to wakefulness, I think you're kind of more susceptible, probably. And the second factor could be also that you are kind of teaching your brain to get some reward for not really any effort. And this is overall pretty bad effect, because that then translates into like bigger problems. If you do it constantly, you learn that you can get like some, let's say, dopamine hits or whatever, good feeling for not really doing too much, just like swiping your finger for a little. And
why is that? Then,
yeah, because because the dopaminergic system, or in our brains, it works. It's the reward system, right? So you try to, let's say, let's look back into the past. When you were trying to get a food, you would get some food, you would eat, and then your brain would release dopamine to teach you that this is a reward and this is what you should get because it gives you nutrients. And then next time you see an animal that you can hunt, you already have the dopamine spike to motivate you to go and pursue that, to hunt that animal down so that you can have the food. You know? So the spike happens, or dopamine rises before, to make you really get you into the movement to do something. And you need to do some effort, right, to get that food, to hunt that animal. Imagine if you were sitting there in the forest and suddenly you would just swipe your finger like that and someone would give you the food. Would you ever like try to go and chase an animal? Why would you do it, right? If you can just do this. And this is what's happening with social media as well, because you're teaching yourself or your brain to just like, why should I do hard things if I can do easy things to get some reward? And over time, when you do that, it is a problem, because you have some ideal self, let's say here, and you have your real self here. And to get to your ideal self, it's probably not going to be super easy, right? You will have to do something hard, something challenging, and you don't really have the motivation to do it. So in order to do it, you need to do something harder, and then you get the really reward. And that's like how it should be. But now, since you can just swipe a little bit and get a good feeling, then like, okay, probably many people are not really going to do it. And so what then happens is this gap between your real self and your ideal self is widening. And the gap kind of makes you anxious, or it can even lead to depression. What is also affecting, I think, is like your self-trust or self-worth. Because imagine I tell myself, I'm going to do this task tomorrow, right? But then you don't do it, you procrastinate, you just swipe. And then you kind of betrayed yourself because you didn't really like keep the promise. You didn't keep the promise. So, and if you do it repeatedly every day, you're kind of teaching yourself that you cannot really trust yourself. And when you cannot trust yourself and your self-worth is going down, you start to feel ashamed. And shame is really kind of the strongest emotion in procrastination. And this is kind of a vicious cycle then, right? So the more ashamed you feel, the more you are like blocked to really take action.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to avoid that shame, not think about it, distract yourself from it. So the only way out from it is kind of self-forgiveness, let's say, or like self-compassion, to really try to, like, it's okay, everybody procrastinates, you know. Leonardo da Vinci, who we think is one of the biggest geniuses, was like procrastinating all the time, and he wrote about it so many times. So it is normal to procrastinate, but when we get into the spiral of like, I'm feeling ashamed because I procrastinate, then it's really blocking you from taking action, and that's the problem.
And you're saying that there's an issue these days with this generation, like really not being able to achieve their goals because they think it should be easier than it is. Because is it that we've destroyed our dopamine system by getting that constant hit? Not
destroyed, but you're just besides the spikes, you also have some baseline, and you're kind of influencing this baseline. So imagine with drugs, maybe it's slightly different, but like with drugs, you have this spike in dopamine as well. And then every other time you take the drug, since there's some tolerance building, the spikes are getting lower and lower, and your baseline is basically dropping. So then later on, when you are really addicted, just in order to feel normal, you need to take the drug. It's no longer giving you this awesome spikes, right? Yeah. So you're kind of feeling miserable all the time, and the drug kind of only helps you to feel normal. With social media, I'm not sure if it's the same, might be similar, but it's again influencing your baseline because you're learning that, or teaching yourself, you don't really need to try hard to have some dopamine released, and that's what's problematic. This sounds like an odd question, but why is it important to be able to do hard things? You know, life's become easier. You know, we don't have to hunt for food anymore. You know, people don't have to put so much effort in to get maybe money or whatever it is. Well, it depends. If you are ambitious, you obviously want to grow. And in order to grow, you need to do hard things and challenging things. Obviously, some people are not as ambitious as others, and they don't need to, for example, try so hard. Also, there's another factor. There's another sensor in the brain responsible for the will to live. And it's connected to like willpower and doing hard things, you know. And the more you challenge yourself, the bigger the area in the brain gets and the stronger it gets. And it's correlated with longevity. So people who live to like 90 years old, they have much bigger parts of this brain than the rest of the population. And it's really just like training yourself by doing the things you don't feel like doing. This is the only way to make it bigger. And then when you train it, it's gradually it's like starting to be easier to do something hard. That's really deep. So you're saying that people who live longer, people who, let's say, maybe are less likely to commit suicide, have this region of the brain that's bigger? It's not only suicide. It's also like just when imagine you were like 60 or 70 years old, you know, your body's aching and you're just like, some of your friends are already dead. So your motivation to live is kind of getting lower and lower. And this like really hunts you down. It's like stressful and it impacts how long you're going to actually live. And then you have other people who are just like constantly challenging themselves, doing harder things. And they have the will to like walk, maybe even hike. Some old people hike, right? But if you just like sit on a couch at home and not do anything challenging, that's connected to it probably in some ways. Or like challenging yourselves to go out and meet your friends when you're older, right? If you're like deprived from socializing, you have high risk of dementia. So there's many factors probably connecting. But yeah. I've never thought about the will to live. That's quite crazy because, I guess the older you get and your body's like deteriorating, the harder it is to live or feel like you want to live. Okay, so there are many app blockers out there. And what makes Lemio different? We never really wanted to be an app blocker. So when we started looking into existing solutions before we built our solution, there were already some like VPN blockers on the market and we tried them, or like Freedom app was there, which was a VPN blocker. But it's not solving the problem, you know. Imagine you have an alcoholic and just by hiding locking the bottle in a closet, you're not really they're not going to stop being an alcoholic. They're going to try to find a way to get into that closet to get the drug. And with blockers, it's similar. And it was kind of getting annoying because I was at the university and I was trying to learn something new and I blocked YouTube, right? But I wasn't able to get into YouTube because it was blocked. So it was supposed to make me productive, but it was making me unproductive because I couldn't get there. When you really so that it gets too annoying and you delete it, right? So that's one of the biggest problem of blockers. and it's really just trying to like solve the symptom, not really looking into why you are escaping to social media. Because if you solve that, then you don't have the urge to escape, and that's more effective solution. We're now working on a new version of the app, or an update, big update, which is really looking much more into this. Like so far, the app does locking, but it lets you in if you need to let in, if you need to go in.
It does what I like about it, yeah.
Yeah, so for example, you want to go in, it's not really a work time or whatever, so we just ask you how much time you need, and then you can go in for 2 minutes, and then it locks you out again after 2 minutes. So it's not the same like blocker that you wouldn't be able to get in. And then the new app that we're working on is looking more into the internal triggers that are the most often driver making you trying to escape, right? So you are oftentimes feeling anxious or bored or lonely or whatever, and you don't even realize it, but that's what's triggering the need to escape.
Yeah, because funnily enough, I was on the app yesterday, and then I tried to log into Instagram again, and the app was like, you spent more time today than you ever have. And it's because I was so stressed. It's so weird that you would think that being stressed, you would need to just work more rather than being on Instagram more. So I remember when you were telling me about the link between like stress and anxiety and then wanting to open the social media app. Yeah, do you have any tips for people struggling with social media? Like download your app for one, but any tips that could really help people with this problem? Like I've spoken to a friend who really thinks she's like got an addiction, and I think it's more common than people would want to admit, because you think, oh no, it's just like me scrolling an app, but it's actually a lot deeper.
Yeah, there's obviously I have many tips. One would be getting our app for sure. Then for YouTube, it was super effective for me, because with some people don't really have a problem with social media, but they have a problem with YouTube, for example, right? And the problem with YouTube is you start watching something and then you get into this rabbit hole, and YouTube knows how to kind of hook you to get you into a state where you don't really realize you're playing another video, and it's there's a very easy fix for that. Just go to settings on YouTube and you turn off the history, and they don't know what to recommend to you next. So you come to a YouTube home screen. There's no videos there because they don't know what to show you. So you have to search for something actively. And then when you find something, when you click on a short, for example, they don't know what next short they should recommend. So shorts don't work anymore. And if you actually place a normal video, you will have the recommendations on the right side of the screen, but they are really not really too relevant because they don't have the history of what they should be showing you. So it really often it's too similar to the video you were watching, so you're not really interested in that. So when I did that, it really fixed my problem with YouTube forever. Coming back to what we said before about the internal triggers, that's what I've seen to be super effective for some people. Yeah. And Nir Eyal talks about it in his book, Indistractable.
Indistractable, nice.
So you have a paper like this printed out, and you have date, time, distraction, how did you feel, and ideas. And basically you have it on your table when you're working, and every time you feel distracted, you just note what happened, when it happened, how did you feel, right? And then after a day or a week, you look back at it and you see what were the most common emotions or feelings you had. And then you try to think, okay, where's this feeling coming from? How can I cope with that feeling in a different way than just by getting distracted? Yeah, so this is also a pretty cool tip.
That is really cool. So you just, and then is it in the way that when you see what is distracting you, you can preempt these kind of things, or like it's giving people the information that
so the problem with distraction is you are kind of out of control, right? You're kind of working on autopilot. And so the first thing to get into control is really to become aware of what is happening. So the awareness is the first step towards control. When you become aware, then you're like, okay, so this is what's happening. So what can I do with this situation?
Being aware of a problem and admitting it feels so tough though sometimes, It's just, but it's good because it shows that, when people see they have a problem, that's the only way you can fix it. And another point I had was like, do you think it's best for people to avoid social media as a whole?
Well, I think it's really beneficial to at least try to do like a reset for minimum a day, ideally at least 3 days, but even better is for a month. There's another interesting book, Dopamine Nation, from Anna Lemke, and she talks about the dopamine reset, let's say, that usually really takes 30 days. But what's important, I did it in the past, and it's really, really interesting how you suddenly start to have so much more mental space and so much more time. And you're like, wow, it's like really feels different, when you don't have any social media available or any other like cheap dopamine sources. And but the problem is it's not really a sustainable solution. So if you just after the month go back to your old habits, you're going to be back where you were in a few days. So if you do that, it's the best to try to have some system when you're getting back to the old life of like adding to your life what makes sense, what gives you value, and being very critical and reflecting. Is this helping? Is this not helping? And having like strong boundaries, because otherwise this reset is not really going to have any long-term effect. But it's an interesting feeling to really see the difference between the two lives.
That's interesting. And for you, did that include LinkedIn and YouTube as well?
Yeah, I don't really like using LinkedIn too much, so that wasn't a problem. But I actually tried to primarily Instagram, but YouTube as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. So a 30-day reset. And I was wondering, for most people, do you think it's just worth... Have you seen this movement, there's this shift where people are asking how the hell they get out of social media, and people are apparently just forgetting it for good. There's a shift with the younger generation.
Yeah, and that's an interesting trend. I've seen some graph where younger people are really starting to spend a bit less time on social media. We'll see how it evolves. I think the spike was also driven by COVID, right? Because in COVID, we had nothing better to do than sit at home and kind of scroll. So that's why the data was higher there. And now it's maybe getting back to where it was before. But I think people are realizing it. There's so much content online telling you how bad it is for you. Also, another great book I would recommend people reading is Anxious Generation, about this problem of young people getting addicted. And there in this book, there's two things in the book. One is the social media addiction, but the second one is because kids are on devices, they don't really go out, and parents are more afraid that something's going to happen to them, so they don't give them as much freedom. And that's not really great for their development, right? They need to play, they need to take risks, they need to do challenging things. It's great if they kind of can go out in the morning and you don't know about them for the whole day, and they need to take care of themselves and be responsible for what they are doing. And today we just give them an iPad and just sit at home. Here you're safe, but you're not building, your brain is not developing as it should be. So that's the problem for younger generation, because then they're afraid to take any risk, right? Because they have never tried it in the play.
And I think I remember telling you that the app had blocked it for the evening, and usually some evenings I would just scroll on Instagram. And then because the app had blocked it, when a friend texted, I was like, you know what, we should call. And, we had that interaction, and it was just a really positive, nice chat. And I was wondering, how many moments have I missed because of social media? And I was wondering, was there anything in your life beforehand that you felt social media was taken away from you?
Definitely boredom. I've not really feel bored for I don't know how many years. Maybe last year when I took this 1 month off, that's when I felt bored, properly bored. But boredom is very, very important for us as well. Or just not doing anything, just wandering. That's when you're the most creative. When you have your own ideas, you can listen to your inner voice. You can start to feel if you have any tensions in the body, right? Because the social media, we're just always externalizing our attention. And when you feel bored, you're more getting into yourself and listening to yourself. Yeah. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, but it's important to have it from time to time. So now there's this another trend, this raw dogging, staring at a stone or just sitting for an hour and not doing anything. So that's an interesting trend as well.
Those are interesting trends. Have you seen the app called Touch Grass?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really funny. But I didn't know the importance of boredom, which is really...
Boredom is important also because that's your brain is not really made to be so overstimulated as it is nowadays. So nowadays we wake up and we're constantly bombarded by some impulses, like somebody texting you, some news, social media, this text from someone, notifications every couple of minutes, and just constantly something is happening, and you never really have time to reflect, right? And boredom helps you to have a time for a couple of minutes to really reflect, okay, what is happening in my life? What am I feeling nowadays? And if you don't do that, you're always only kind of living in a rush and in a hurry, and you don't really even have time to figure out what actually do I want to do in my life. And I don't know if you know, but the main the biggest regret of people dying is I wish I was brave enough to live a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. And how can you live a life true to yourself if you never take a moment to listen to yourself?
That's true. That's true.
We're going to have more people with this regret, or like it's going to maybe change to people who regret they scrolled their life away. But I think it's sad, you know?
Yeah. So you think that like sitting alone in silence can help you just figure out what you want to be, who you want to be, what you want to achieve, and then that's helpful.
Yeah. Or like sometimes you feel uncomfortable, you don't know why. But if you are just like externalizing your attention, you're never going to figure out why. You can figure out that you've been working in the wrong industry for 10 years.
Yeah.
Just because you never took a moment to think, okay, this is not really fulfilling work, or this is not my purpose. And then you can get depressed because of it or something. So
it is deep. What I want to get into is that a lot of people that watch the podcast are aspiring entrepreneurs. And yeah, I was just curious about the first actual step you took to start the app. So you knew there was a problem. How did you get from thinking about this problem and pain point to actually making an app that is 4.9 rated on the App Store and the #1 mindfulness app? Like, how did you get there?
Well, we're not really #1 mindfulness app yet. #1 mindful productivity app. So we're connecting this two. I've always had this, maybe that's from my childhood a little bit, that like whenever I wanted something, my dad would just tell me, just make it yourself, you know, figure it out and make it yourself. And then I would just like create toys from wood for myself, or like I created some tattoo machine when I was like 8 years old that was really like functional, and I was tattoo on bananas because I just was curious, like, how is it working that you can get an ink under something, and there's this motor that's rotating and a needle and so on. And then
that's really funny that
it led to me creating even like, you know, like keychains like this from leather, or wallets, or even I built like half of my furniture is built by myself. So this is the same thinking here. You know, I had a problem and I was like, okay, there's no good solution on the market, so I think I'm just gonna create the solution. It's not a problem hard enough to not be. It's impossible that we cannot solve it. So I thought, okay, let's solve it, and that's how it started. And obviously, if you don't want to fund it forever, you need to make money from it. So you need to figure out how to put some business model behind it too, so that it returns the money and fuels the growth.
Yeah, so take us through the steps of building it, you know, just some more granular insights. Actually,
so I had, as I said, I wrote this business plan, which is not really necessary in the beginning, but it was good to think about the idea. Then I really actually made a whole bachelor thesis about it. So I wrote like a 70-page document about this business. And then, so I had it in my head for quite some time. And then through Sigma Squared, where we also met, Stefan, my co-founder, he watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix. And he was like texting on Slack, hey guys, we need to do something about it. And I'm like, I have an idea that we can work on.
Yeah.
And so we just connected and we started looking into what is out there on the market. We tried everything. Some of the things worked for like a month, but then they got too annoying. So we started thinking, okay, what can you do? What are the available tools that you can use? And we started writing a newsletter first and sending people like tips on how to deal with this thing. And then we figured, okay, but still it's like not enough. We need to help people get into action and really do something about it. And so then we started ideating what the app could be and looking for a developer, because we're not technical. So we started looking for a developer who could help us build the app.
How did you find that person? Where did you look?
Through our network, we started like reaching to people. Do you know any iOS developers? Through LinkedIn search, Slack channels, and network. And first, we actually met. We already had some idea on how the app should look like. And through a network, we met. Someone recommended we talk to Frederick, who started OneSec, which is a competitor from ours. And so we connected with him and worked with him for a while. But then we figured we want the app to look a bit different. So we split ways and started to build it from scratch with a freelancer first. And yeah, that's how it started. Then you basically just, if you don't know the book Lean Startup, that's a good methodology. Or maybe, and Lean Startup talks about MVP, right? The minimum viable product. So you start to experiment, build something minimal, easy, cheap, that can already fix the problem or give the value to people. Then you try to give it to people around you in your network and, hey, try it out. Does it work for you? And then you iterate, you try to the most important thing is really to talk to people, to the potential customers as soon as possible, to see if it actually is a problem for more people. And then where are the friction points? What is not working? What do they not understand in the app? The first version of our app had super difficult onboarding because there was no easy way to solve it. So we had to be very creative in how to guide people to actually set it up. And many people said, "Oh, this is a great way how to explain it," but still, for an average Joe, it's too hard, and you cannot have this friction because you're just losing like tens of percents of people who download the app or not go through the onboarding. Then we switched to a different technology, which is Screen Time API from Apple, which made it easier. So we just kind of rebuilt the whole app based on this. And that's, you just iterate, build.
Yeah. And what are some of the challenges you faced that you overcame, and what challenges are you currently facing?
So what's important in the beginning is probably focusing on two things. One is product and one is distribution. One of my friends said that there's some saying that the first business you build is great product and the second business you build is rather great in distribution, because you figure distribution oftentimes is even more important. And for us, we didn't focus on the distribution enough, I think, in the beginning. Like, we were really just putting kind of 100% focus on the product, which took quite some time with freelancers and with limited resources to build it to a state where you like it. And now I think our product is pretty good. It's going to be even better soon. But now the bigger challenge for us is the distribution. So that's what we're currently trying to tackle.
So this is why you're on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, distribution's tough. What strategies are you thinking of apart from sort of marketing?
We're looking into different strategies. We don't really want to spend too much money on it now because I think it's for consumer app, it's quite important to have it sustainable. You need to figure out a way to grow organically. And if you start spending on marketing, one thing is it's going to be expensive. Another thing is you don't really know if you have a good product market fit, because you might just the growth is just driven by you putting money on it. And so what we try to do a lot is figure out a way how it can grow organically, either through like features in the app that would promote the growth, or through organic content, or like people telling about it to their friends. And second thing is now trying to utilize AI to help us like create as much content as possible to get in front of as many people as possible. That's one way. Another way is through UGC creators. So some apps have this strategy that they have like a farm of 20 or 30 UGC creators who produce videos every day. Yeah. That's another way we're trying. But what we see quite another way is, which is hard because it's hard to replicate, but it looks to have a pretty good conversion, is through influencers. Yeah. But like, it's not great to pay influencers because it's really a one-time thing. You don't know how it's gonna end up. So you really need to convince them on the mission. So having a mission-driven project really helps, because then you can have people like align with what you're doing and trying to help you. Right?
Yeah. So this is a game where I ask you a few questions and just to catch your thoughts and insights. So, never have I ever deleted an app I was spending too much time on.
I have.
Okay. Yeah. Any details on what the app was?
All of them. Instagram, YouTube, Tinder. I don't know if I delete my BS, but I've probably deleted all of them. But it doesn't, then you try to use it on browser, where the user experience is a bit worse. And then you need to use it for something. If you have your own, like, I needed to post for some other projects I'm doing, and it was super hard to do it through a browser. So then you need to get the app. So it's,
Then you end up spending more.
It didn't work out. Sorry?
Fairs. And that was before your app or after?
Before.
Yeah, fair enough. You don't struggle with that anymore, I'm guessing.
Sometimes I do, but our app really helps.
You can manage it. Fair enough. Okay. Never have I ever compared myself to someone online and then felt bad about myself.
I probably have, but it's subtle. It's not like that I would just scroll and say, "Oh wow, I want this." It's more like, I think subconsciously you're starting to feel like, why do I not have what other people have? I think everybody has that, but it's not like, I am jealous, they have this, I don't.
Yeah, it's subtle.
And I also I have a bit different values. Like, I don't care that much about money. Obviously, I need money to live, and I would like to have some more money. But I'm more driven by the deeper purpose of why we do it. And also, like, I see how shallow it can be, how some people are just trying to chase fame or chase money and then like do unethical or not so moral things, and they don't care about people around them and so on. And I know this is not a really good path towards happiness. So I try to optimize for other things.
So just to wrap up the episode, I have just a few reflective questions. And I'd love to ask you, as I mentioned, loads of people that listen to podcasts want to be entrepreneurs. And I was wondering, for you, what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
Freedom and like being not having a boss who's telling you what you should be doing. So that's one. But another thing is you're really working on something you care about the most, right? So for me, working on Lemio is, I think about it all the time. Like I think about it when I wake up, I think about it when I'm going to bed, and I think about it during the weekend. And if I was working on some other person's vision or purpose, and if it wasn't aligned with what I want to do, I don't think it would be time well spent. So that's why I think this is why I like to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's really, really deep. And yeah, what does the future look like for you and Lemio?
So we are soon going to launch an update which is going really more deeper into the root cause of the problem. So I'm excited to see how that works, how people like it, how much more it helps long term. And we already see from feedback that people really love our app, and people have tried different apps from competitors, but then they try our app and they say, wow, this is actually so much better, so much simpler, so much more intuitive. So this is making me very happy to hear that. And we haven't really, but the competitors are still a bit bigger. So for me, my goal is to be the biggest in the market, because I think we really are going after or building the best product in the category. So that's goal.
I agree. There's definitely something special here, and definitely keep handing out those stickers because, a lot of people see it on the phone. They're like, "Oh, what is that?" I tell them all about how much I love the Lemio app. So it's really good. It is better than other things. You're right. It doesn't block it. It feels like it does solve the actual issue. I've deleted every single app blocker except from this one. So that's why I was really, really excited to have you on the podcast. And final question from me is, what would you say? Because something that makes me feel sad about social media, and I wondered if you could help, is the fact that how would you help someone who feels so guilty and overwhelmed with their social media usage and the shame that comes with it? Like, what's the first step they take to just not feel that way? Talking about a friend.
Don't feel guilty about it. It's not going to help you, and it's not really your fault. It's most likely you are a potentially more vulnerable individual, and they really are harvesting your attention. And they have very good tactics to do it. So first thing is become aware of the problem and try to learn how you can fight against the problem. But forgive yourself, have some self-compassion, and it's fine. Everybody is struggling with it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Tom. It's been a pleasure to chat. And I can't wait for more people to use your app and hopefully get their time back and live more and explore less.
Well, thank you very much for having me.